Stand near an animal a few seconds too long, and the question changes. You thought you were watching it. Then the dog checks your hands, the crow studies your face, the horse reads your shoulders before you say a word, and suddenly, you are the strange one. Most humans want to ask, does it like me? But that might be the wrong question. Too human. To another animal, you may register first as movement, a voice, a smell, a shape coming closer, maybe even a pattern. Not your name, not your job, not your story, just what your presence has usually meant before. And that is where the real question begins. What are humans to animals?
A dog doesn't wait for the door to open. It hears the keys first. A cat doesn't need to see the food bowl. It hears the cabinet. A horse may not know what a person is about to say, but it can notice the shoulders, the grip, the tiny change in breathing. From the human side, this can look emotional. Love, fear, obedience, attitude. We like those words because they make the animal's behavior fit inside a human story. But the animal may be doing something quieter. It may be categorizing you, not as a person with a name, a job, a phone, and a complicated inner life, as a pattern. In animal cognition, one simple idea behind this is associative learning. A creature learns that one thing often comes before another. Keys come before leaving. A cabinet sound comes before food. A stiff hand comes before pressure. A familiar voice comes before safety. Simple, not shallow. The animal doesn't need your full biography to respond to you. It only needs enough repeated information to make a prediction. That distinction matters. Recognition is not the same as understanding. A dog may recognize your footprints without knowing where you went. A crow may remember a face without knowing a name.
A horse may respond to tension without knowing your intention. And this is the part humans often dislike. We expect our inner meaning to arrive first. I'm friendly. I'm harmless. I'm just walking past. I didn't mean anything by that. But animals often meet the outside first. Movement first. Distance first. Tone first. Repetition first. Modern life makes this easy to forget. Humans move through doors, cars, sidewalks, elevators, glowing phones, and rushed schedules as if all of it is normal. But to an animal, the human is still a body making signals in space. Fast steps, sharp turns, hands reaching, eyes staring, a voice changing when attention shifts. The animal learns the pattern. And once that happens, the question gets smaller and stranger at the same time. Before an animal decides what a human is, it may be learning what that human predicts. So the human is no longer just a person looking at nature. The human becomes part of another creature's map. Now, imagine a crow sitting on a fence. Not a cartoon crow, not some mystical bird judging your soul. Just a crow watching a human walk past. It does not need a word for person. It does not need a word for stranger. It doesn't need to know your name, your reason, or what kind of day you are having. It only needs one useful question. Has this shape mattered before? That is where the question becomes less cute. In Corvid Cognition, researchers including John Marsliff and his colleagues have found that crows can recognize individual human faces and connect them to past experiences. Put simply, a crow may learn that one face has been linked to pressure, danger, food, or safety. The face becomes a signal. The human becomes a memory with legs. That's not magic, and it's not morality. A crow doesn't have to think that person is bad. It may only learn something much more practical. When that face appears, I should be careful. Memory is not the same as judgment. That distinction matters because humans love to make animal behavior about what's inside us. Our kindness, our guilt, our personality, our hidden intentions. We drag wheels, bags, leashes, doors, engines, keys, and noise through the world like all of it is normal. To a wild animal, a sidewalk human is not just a human. It is a moving pile of signals. To a dog, that pile may be familiar. To a deer, it may be pressure. To a crow, it may be a face worth storing. Different animals are not asking the same question. A dog living beside humans may watch the face because the face predicts attention, food, leaving, returning, and mood. A horse may watch the body because pressure and distance matter more than words. A crow may watch the face because memory can make danger cheaper to avoid next time. Each animal reads the human through the problem it has to solve. That is the mechanism underneath the gaze. Animals do not need to understand the whole human. They need to understand the part of the human that changes what happens next. And that makes the question quieter, but stranger. When an animal watches you, it may not be wondering who you are. It may be learning what kind of event you are.
We want the animal to somehow know what we meant, but many animals are probably reading something more useful than meaning. Did the body move toward me? Did the hand reach too quickly? Did the voice predict food? Did this face appear near the nest? Did this creature make the world safer, louder, closer, or harder to escape? For an animal, the outside is not shallow. The outside is where survival begins. Humans forget this because we live under a thick layer of explanation. I'm just stressed. I'm just busy. I didn't mean to scare it. I was only walking past. A nearby animal may not receive any of that. It receives the speed of the step, the angle of the eyes, the sudden hand, the tight shoulders, the change in the voice when attention shifts. And city life makes humans even stranger. We move fast, we stop suddenly, we stare at glowing objects.
A human looks at an animal and expects to be seen as a person. That sounds obvious to us. Of course we do. We live inside names, jobs, schedules, passwords, profiles, reasons, moods, and all the little explanations for why we were tired, rushed, distracted, kind, careless, or harmless. But outside the human story, most of that arrives late. The body arrives first. A dog does not need your resume to know you were about to leave. It hears the keys. It sees the shoes. It notices the slight change in your pace when your mind is already outside the room. A horse does not need your mood explained. It may feel the tension in the reins before the apology ever forms. A crow does not need your inner life. It may remember that your face once came too close. And this is the part modern life makes easy to miss. Cities let humans move through glass, metal, cars, elevators, headphones, locked doors, and glowing screens as if the body has somehow stopped being animal. It has not. To another creature, a human is still a moving body inside shared space. A phone may be modern, but the sudden stillness in your posture is older. An apartment may be modern, but the dog reading your footsteps through the floor is older. A sidewalk may be modern, but a deer watching your distance is using a very old question. Is this coming closer? That question does not need language.
The human world says, "Let me explain." The animal world often asks, "What happens next?" And that difference matters, because animals can make humans feel strangely exposed. Not because they know everything about us, they do not, but because they may notice the parts we edit badly. Timing, repetition, distance, pressure, the hand that reaches too quickly, the voice that changes before the person admits they are tense. Humans want to be understood from the inside, but many animals only need the outside to become predictable. That is not an insult. It is a correction. Being watched is older than being explained. Before language, before status, before all the stories humans built around themselves, creatures survived by reading other creatures. So when an animal looks at a human, the question may not be deep in the human way. It may be older than that. What does this body usually bring? Safety, food, noise, pressure, distance, attention, risk. And when that question is answered often enough, the human becomes less like a mystery and more like a track in the dirt. Not fully understood, but remembered. And maybe that is the humbling part. To another species, you may not be your explanation. You may be what your presence has taught them.
So maybe the question was never whether animals know what humans are, not in the way humans mean it. A dog may not know your private worries, a crow may not know your name, a horse may not know why your shoulders are tense, but each one may know something humans often forget to count, what your presence has usually meant. To another species, a human may be a rhythm, a memory, a pressure, a source of food, a signal of safety, or a reason to keep distance. That is the quieter answer. Being recognized is not the same as being understood. And that difference makes humans smaller in the right way. Not less important, less separate. Because before we are explained, we are watched. Before we are understood,
we become patterns. And sometimes another creature may notice the pattern before we do. So if animals learn humans by what we repeat, the next question is stranger. What did dogs notice in us before we noticed them?